All right, cool. So that's the way I want us to take it. That's the angle I want us to approach it. Again, please don't overthink it. Just have fun, information, and after that, we can talk a little bit about some of our feedback in terms of if you have questions with the week assignment. Let's keep the assignment simple, guys. There are two assignments I gave. One is individual. That was the one I shared with us as a team. Acceptable use policy specific to the cloud solution. Why is it important? Most environments today are thinking or they're already deploying cloud solution. That is guaranteed. I know that. Secondly, is beside that first assignment, focus on cloud. I also mentioned we should work on business continuity and disaster recovery policy as a group. Don't overthink it, guys, ladies. I don't expect you to be asked to make changes or come up with a policy. I'm going to start from the scratch. If that's what you're doing, it's not a smart way to do it, as simple as that, okay? The expectation is that when we find ourselves in those kind of situations, we are supposed to be smart about it and use existing guideline to build our own policy, as simple as that. And that's what you guys did. SANS.org, if you guys don't know, they are one of the top security industry leaders in the world. They offer training. If you guys want to, if you are feeling charitable, you want to spend money, go to SANS.org. It's crazy that even big organization like my own organization, we don't approve SANS training because it's too expensive, right? Because the training might be $8,000. So if you tell me you did a training in networking for $8,000, and I look at Udemy is offering training for $200 or somebody else for 1,000, then it's hard to justify it from a business case. So that's why we don't approve it, right? It's just too expensive. But you know what? They have a lot of customers and they're doing well, so it doesn't matter. So those are the assignments I give to you guys. Another thing I've seen questions from most of us is, a few people have asked me, you know, what about my grades? And my response is simple. Don't forget, our model is very simple, guys, ladies. Our model is focused on what we will be doing on the job. So if you tell me grade, we have to get out of the academic mindset, okay? And it takes some training, get out of that mindset, very important to us all, because my focus is project. Everything I think about is project driven. Think about yourself too. All of us work on projects. You have a sewer system that is broken. Your garage needs fixing. Your car needs fixing. You need to paint your house. Those are projects you're working in your home, right? So, your focus and your mind is wired towards who can fix it, who can solve this problem. The same thing for me, from a project point of view, my focus is all about execution. What can you do? I have a problem, solve it. That's it. So let's keep it simple, nothing fancy. We're not going to go beyond that. Strictly solution driven. The reason I want to get into Agile tonight, like I mentioned before, was simple. I've seen many cases that people are working on projects. They have an interview and somebody's asking you about, okay, have you worked with an Agile team? And you have no idea. Now, I'm not training you to be Scrum Master or Product Owner, no. The goal of this quick one is just to have an idea of what it's all about. There's an area I want you to focus on. Let me tell you a real life story. The story is a classic case of crisis management, and I'll tell you. So the story is this. As part of my career, I was part of a project, I'm in leadership role, and I have a team with me that in this team, we have to figure out how to effectively manage a team that was in crisis. Within the crisis, we had to find out how can we ensure we don't lose a massive amount of revenue. In this particular scenario, I'm talking of close to $100 million, right? This is significant enough, right? In the midst of this crisis, Guess what? One of the tools that I had to fall back to help my team to be successful was some of the ceremonies of Agile. This is not making up story. This is real life, right? And that's why I said every knowledge is so important, right? I'm a cyber person, but now Agile technically saved the day, to be honest, because immediately I introduced some daily iterations, which we'll talk about, daily ceremonies in terms of daily stand-up. We'll get into that shortly. And that kept my team much more structured and accountable. Even though our kind of project is not designed for an agile ceremony kind of work, but those ceremonies, because I've used them in my old world, came handy. I customized it to fit what I was doing, but it was so effective. So I love it so much. It's just a game changer. So let's write, guys and ladies. All right, so I'll be very fast. Again, I just want to sneak into the world of Agile. I was more in the product development side. I was a product manager in this world for many years. I'll take it from that angle. Then you on your side, your takeaways, understand what Agile is all about. By the end of this 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I want you to be able to say, oh, in Agile, these are some things they do in Agile. Let's keep it simple, people. Agile is saying, instead of waiting till the end of a project to get feedback, why don't we do a little piece of the project and get smaller chunk of feedback? Case study. I bring a painter to my house to paint 10 rooms. And I say to the painter, after each room, let me take a look, give you feedback on each of the rooms before you go to the next room to paint. If that is clear to you, give me a thumbs up real quick. Everybody, let's do that real quick. Let's take it again. Agile is saying, rather than me waiting for you to paint my room, 10 rooms at once, why don't you paint the first one? Then, based on the feedback, I will tell you to paint the other 9. You guys will agree that's fundamentally something that makes sense, right? That makes sense. It's a very sensible proposition, really. And that's really the simplicity of Agile, in my opinion. Don't complicate it. It's as simple as that. We're just saying, we don't want to wait for you to paint everything before we give you feedback. Agile says, hey, ma'am, sir, let's take it in smaller chunk, get our feedback, then we can improve the performance as we proceed. And at the end of the day, even if you decide, and let me tell you the cool thing about Agile too. Agile emphasize it's okay to tell the painter, you know what, after the second room, I'm good, I don't want to paint again. Why? Maybe there's a new cool feature that came out there that people are no longer painting. They are probably now using, instead of paint, they are using other designs to make homes beautiful. Agile says, yeah, we can do that too. It's okay. So I'm not mandated to go ahead and paint the 10 rooms. I can paint 2 and change my mind that, okay, you know what? For the satisfaction of myself and my family, let's just stick to 2 rooms. The other rooms, we'll find other things to do with it. That's really the concept of Agile, in my opinion. Makes life easy, you get quick feedback, and it's a fantastic thing that can apply to many projects and help it to be successful. All right, let's go. So Mercy project, what next? Time for Agile. Okay, many times when a project is in a crisis, I'll tell you mine was classic example, $100 million stake, real life, I'm not kidding. So Agile, in my opinion, saved the day. Agile was a tool I could pick from my prior experience to help to execute to save the day. In your case, you might say, guy, I'm just a security guy. Why the hell is Agile? It's important because some of the guys you work with, software developers, will be using Agile. And I don't want you to shrink. I don't want them to say, well, we have a daily stand-up or a ceremony, and you're wondering, oh, what's this supposed to mean? At least you have an idea of what the concept is all about. All right, I'll keep it simple. Again, it's not an Agile class. I'm not going to go into all the details of it. To me, the goal is just to understand that basic concept in an IT environment, okay? Why is it important? Most technology environment believes in efficiency. Most technology environment wants to build minimal viable product. That simply means product that brings the most value to my organization, as simple as that. So that means if you bring someone to help you to decorate your home during Christmas, they could ask you, well, you don't have the budget. What about, tell me which part of your home would you like to, to light the most? And you might say, well, I like my front pouch to shine the most. Okay, let's focus on that. That's it. We just focus on this front pouch because it's going to give you the most value for your home at that point in time. So we can deal with that. Leadership desire people that understand Agile. I think it's important, especially if you find yourself in an IT shop. So knowledge of Agile is very important from a leadership point of view. Again, it's not required for a program, but I see it as a need that can help you efficient in an interview and in real life setting to understand how your software folks work. And some of you on this call have done Scrum Master, you've done Product Owner, you've done all that stuff. So you can relate with this, but it applies to real life project environment also. So I want you to be educated about this. All right, let's go. Agile flavors. There are some key flavors in Agile. You will hear things like Scrum, Kanban, extreme programming. I would focus on the Scrum side of things. So you guys will hear Scrum, Scrum, Scrum. So I'll focus on Scrum. Understand the concept of Agile, which is really a mindset change at the end of the day. Agile is really a mindset change, really, because people would be trained within the organization to understand it's very important to focus on things that adds the most value and to be very time conscious, to involve stakeholders at the early part of the game. Very important also. We have something called Agile Manifesto. In the past, ladies and gentlemen, most people focus on processes and tools. So if I want to build, let's say, a healthcare billing system, all right, for my nurses and my CNAs on this call. Remember, even though there are processes and tools, Agile says, forget all this nonsense of paper and documentation. Let's focus on individual and interaction. What does that mean? I go to speak with nurses, CNAs, and my medical coders and ask them how they do their day-to-day tasks. That gives me a better knowledge than just building a bunch of documents. Now, for those of us in IT in the past, for us to do project, then we used to put flow charts, functional spec. We put a lot of dumps and documents. I'm not saying documentation don't have some value, but some of those documents would never be read by anyone again. So it's a waste of our time. So we say, you know what? Let's focus on interaction and what people need. Second thing we say, working software versus comprehensive documentation. I would rather have, for those of us in the world of software, people always believe in proof of concept, meaning figure out what's working, make changes quick, and adjust to customers' need, versus having all this bunch of nonsense documentation that nobody will read after. And the annoying thing, some of those documents become obsolete. But you've put tons of hours to develop documents nobody would ever read. Really a shame. Third one, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. This is so important. In the past, and my world has been consulting historically. So when we negotiate a contract, if it's 2 years, 3 years, we expect if the customer make a change, we used to call it scope creep, right? It's still the same thing. But we are saying in Agile, change is okay, is acceptable, which is crazy because this is so much unlike what all of us are trained to believe. I'm saying, well, if you ask me to come and paint your house and you now decide, hey, you're no longer painting, you now want to make me help you to fix the yard. I would say, well, sorry, I was hired to paint. For me to fix the yard, it will be extra, blah, blah, blah. Agile is saying it's okay to make change because if my industry is changing all the time and there's a need to change, what the heck, change. Amazing concept. Then the other thing is responding to change over following a plan. A lot of people will say, well, stick to the plan, stick to the plan. In the world of Agile, it's bullshit, really. We don't follow that. We just focus and say, you know what, if a change is needed because we have a use case or business case for that, then go ahead and make the change. Forget the plan. I mean, I'm not saying we will not be structured, but if you realize the plan does not align with what you're doing, make the change. Simple. Especially if you're a software company. We don't have time, because if you don't make change, your competition will kick you out. As simple as that. Let me give you an example. A lot of you would have seen, um, like Facebook was using, was it either Instagram or one of them, Reel storyline. They put story before they bought each other and all that stuff. Suddenly, other social media started using those functionality too, right? If somebody is using thumbs up, suddenly you see everybody else in social media space using thumbs up. If they are, allowing storyline, everybody else will align. If you don't, you will not be relevant, because people are moving towards it. If you look at TikTok, they make changes. Facebook and Instagram, of course, will make their changes too, because if not, you would not be relevant. So you can't stick to your plan. If your competition are using a model that is working, you change. As simple as that. All right. Agile principles, again, this is just to say you satisfy customer, welcome changes, value frequently, collaborate daily, motivate and trust. Face-to-face conversation is extremely important. If you're in Agile, in the past, before COVID, you have no choice but to meet with your team face-to-face. That's the whole concept of Agile. But with video now, it's a more popular process. People do face-to-face, okay? Working code, meaning we want to see what is functional. Even if it means it's not complete yet, still make changes as needed. Technical excellence, we want to make sure whatever you develop is quality. Simplicity is essential. Keep it simple. Self-organizing team. Agile is all about self-organizing team. If I get to an Agile environment, I can tell if it's a functioning Agile team. I will tell, and I was an Agile coach too. So I can tell if I come to your environment and you're running a daily stand-up, I would know if it's a functioning team or not. By my second visit to the team, I would know that there's problem. It's so easy because, number one, a team that laughs, you know that, okay, they're pretty cool. A team that is so rigid, they might have operational excellence, but I know friction will start coming up very soon, right? Then the other thing in my head, I'm already thinking, a team that I cannot tell who the boss is, who the project manager is, who is the lead, that is a self-organizing team. That's what it is, really, because I don't expect to know. I must be confused to know who is the leader, because that's Agile concept. We want everybody to feel empowered, bring up issues at any point in time. Very important, right? Requirement gathering, again, the stakeholders would have given requirement. In the case of our world of cybersecurity, right? Even though we are working on any project, there should be requirement also, right? We analyze the requirement, we schedule meeting with the stakeholders, ask all the right questions as needed at any point in time. Scrum Master, Scrum key actors, product owner, Scrum Master, Scrum team. Let's keep it simple. These are the three key players, right? Most times. Product owner would be responsible for coming up with the requirement. Scrum Master is technically like a project manager helping the team. Scrum team, you'll see them in a bit. I'll skip what these guys do, and you guys will have access to this slide, so don't worry. But a Scrum team is just collection of individuals working together, and look at some of the composition of a Scrum team, typically programmers, quality assurance team, user experience team, business analyst, and it could be fewer than 7 people at times. Sometimes you might find out that it's a smaller environment. They just have 2 developers, 1 QC, and that's it. So whatever the scenario or the story is, be very adaptive to adjust as needed. Scrum Master role, and again, this is an Agile class, but just have an idea of it. This is what a Scrum Master would do typically: help to facilitate change, explain Agile concept. Technically, you help to coach the team also, advise and coach even the product owner. So a Scrum Master typically should be very knowledgeable about Agile concept and fundamental to be successful. All right, again, this is just what the product owner does. They put together the requirement, they sign up on user story, they help with, we'll get to that in a bit, grooming. Team attitude, Now look at this. I like this diagram a lot. You can see sometimes, it's easy to say, well, it's not affecting me. You can see these clowns here, right here. These two bodies up here, they're just chilling and their boat is sinking on the right, forgetting very soon, if these two folks go down, everybody is going to be screwed anyway. So it's important to understand within an agile environment, it's a team sport, very important. Iteration zero planning. Let's talk about this real quick. So most times, in case you find yourself in the world of agile, they always have something we call iteration zero planning. Some people in the world of SAFe might have PI planning, but the whole concept about this is just to say we have a time where the product manager or product owner will come to you and say, this is my requirement. Let me give an example. My requirement is I want us to work on policies and procedure. Or I could say, let me make it fit an agile environment. I want you to build a repository we can track our policies and procedure. Last week, we talked about policies and procedure, guys. You guys built 2 policies and procedure. So I'm asking the agile team to build a repository where we can store all those information. If there are changes, the repository would alert us there are changes, and it makes our life easy, right? So that's what the vision is. So for the requirements, we would ask what we call user stories, meaning break down the requirement in smaller, easy to understand format. And you guys will see it in a bit. Again, I'm going to skip some of this, but if you're in a meeting tomorrow, I can assure you, because we've talked about this, you will not feel lost. You will not shrink. You will have an idea and say, oh, okay, I think I get the concept because it's an agile environment, okay? Another thing that is big when we do iteration zero planning is we do what we call identify risk, meaning what are the risks in this thing we're doing right now? What are the dependencies? This is so big, ladies and gentlemen. Dependencies especially is such a big deal. I'll give you an example. I built a solution with an airline industry some years back, and we're just about to deploy. Everything was good. It's a mobile boarding pass. I can bet you most of you have entered an airline before. But you know what? In the midst of deploying in the middle of the night, after spending almost 6 hours, we realized we could not push our work that we've worked on for like 3 months into the final production. And the reason was, and eventually we had to give up and say, you know what, guys, we are not making progress. This is around 4 a.m. We had to go back to office by 8 a.m., right? So, all right, guys, let's adjourn. So what happened? We realized because we work with a third party helping us to push some of our code in. However, dependency now. We never made provision to understand if you are going to a company as big as this airline industry's environment, you had to get what we call a firewall exception, meaning they would have recognized your IP address coming to the environment to waive it to say come in, because they are firewall blocking external bodies moving code to the environment. So in real world, if we had brought everybody into that iteration zero planning, including these folks, they would have told us that, hey, guys, ladies, have you made provision to get a waiver for your firewall, right? Or whatever. So, but anyway, we never knew. So, of course, we had to do what we call a point deployment, whereby we had to just take, we did not follow the normal way of moving things to production again because it's an emergency. So we have to find other ways to move it to production. Okay. All right. Just want to sneak that in. Okay. But that's real life story, guys. So another thing, I think we've talked about this. Let me quickly, let me see. Again, I'll just focus on, and this is what the flow looks like, guys. Your Scrum team, the business owner, the stakeholders, my folks that are into Agile, I know you guys got this already. But for other folks, at least I want to demystify the concept of Agile to you. You might, because I've seen some job requirements say knowledge of Agile environment. That's why I'm touching this, okay? So that when you hear that, you just say yes, because this is really the core fundamental of Agile environment. All right, let's quickly go. This is something we call waterfall. Waterfall is an old way of doing project in the past. We do requirement analysis, design, implementation, testing, maintenance. We still use it, by the way, because it depends on the complexity of the project. If you are doing firewall design, it's not programming kind of work, you still need to use some kind of process, right? Sometimes we call it Agile, waterfall, and agile. Okay. Can we all type waterfall real quick, everybody? Let's do type waterfall. Let's type waterfall. Okay, let me see. In essence, the Scrum Master. Okay, can we all type waterfall real quick, everybody? Go ahead, quickly. So waterfall is just an old way of mostly developing software or solution. It's an old way, okay? Waterfall. So don't, if you hear waterfall, don't look and say it's waterfalling somewhere. No, it's just an old way people have been doing software implementation. Agile, look at it as a newer way, more effective, in smaller chunk of executing project. So in my opinion, of course, Agile, it's a no-brainer. It's a more efficient way, cost saving, and we can easily give feedback as quick as possible. Exactly. Someone said completing one section before the next one. I agree with that. All right, cool. Let's go. Developing cycle every 2 weeks. This is a summary of everything I've talked about. This is one of the most exciting part of the whole puzzle. Most times, let's go back to our painting analogy. If you paint, your contract is to paint 10 rooms, right? You're painting the whole room, the whole house. I said, after you paint the first one, before you paint it, we would have discussed and said, this is what I want the paint to look like. So we've planned it, we've talked about it. Every morning you come, we talk and say, well, what do you want to do today? You tell me you're going to paint the window frame, you're going to paint the walls, you're going to paint the roof, you're going to paint the switches around it. You've said all that good things, right? Then you tell me, I'll ask you, are there roadblocks? You say, well, while I was trying to paint the previous day, I realized this switch was falling apart. Can I tape it? So you're bringing to me things that are potential roadblocks that can slow down the process, right? Then after each day of painting, you come and say, hey, can I do a demo to show you the progress I've made and show me what it looks like? So technically that's my demo. So I'm in this case, the business owner or stakeholder. So I will go and look and say, okay, this makes sense, and give you feedback. After the whole painting is done, my expectation is you and your crew that you came together, you will talk to yourself and say, what did we do well? What are the challenges? What can we do better in the future? As simple as that. All right, this is what we call production release. Again, I'll skip this. Again, my focus is just to get you that basic knowledge and foundation of Agile, so that you can, there's one area I'm going to, I want to make sure we do one exercise there before we do anything. So that, I think that's the main thing I want us to do. Burn down chart, I'll skip it. For those people that want to go into Agile and learn more, I'll let you do that. Burn down chart typically represents, I can use that to measure something we call velocity within an Agile team. I can find out how long, how long it takes for you to complete different tasks within your project. We use that to measure Agile team. So I'm going to skip this because it's not relevant to us. User stories. This is what a user story typically looks like. Let's use the analogy I used earlier on. If you're in Agile and they will ask you this in an interview. They will ask you, give me an example of user story. If you tell me user story, you just say things that are not really applicable, I will know that you have no clue what Agile is. So Agile wants us to say I would like to. So that's a big thing. As a good example, I would say, as a GRC analyst, I would like to be able to upload policy changes into repository so that leadership across the organization can review the policy. That's it. That's a user story. Simple. So it will break a lot of things into smaller chunks. Let's use it in our own point of view. As a homeowner, I would like my room to be painted cream color so that I can have a good rest experience. As a homeowner, I like my son's room to be painted blue so that he can have an experience to enjoy his games. As a homeowner, I like my daughter's room to be painted pink so I'm breaking it down into smaller chunks. I'm not just outrightly saying, I want my house painted, right? I can say that, but that's not really, Agile is saying be more specific, give it smaller chunk of information so that we can hold someone accountable to that particular task, because you've broken it down into a smaller chunk. You're not just telling me I want to paint my house. No. Yeah, I get it. You're going to paint my room this color, my son's room this color, my daughter's room this color. Then even have a color for the library. Library, they always, or game room to be a little bit warm colors, right? Library, because you study there, to be bright colors. So you go into specific. That's what it's talking about. All right. Acceptance criteria are very important. For every environment you find yourself, you have to define what are the things that makes you comfortable to accept a user story, meaning to accept whatever you feel has been done. You would have defined this as a team. Again, for the purpose of GRC, this might not be applicable, but at least have the knowledge and be ready to speak intelligently. These are just advantage of acceptance criteria. We build this if you're in the world of Agile. And this is a practical example of some user stories, the examples of what they look like. This is for an let's see. Okay, let's use the second bullet point. As a Delta customer, I want to see different features on the home page so that I can decide which one to select. So that's a good user story there for an airline industry, right? We have something we call acceptance criteria for perfume, but this is just a good thing you can use to guide yourself in writing user stories if you find yourself in an Agile shop. We will likely not be doing this because this is not an Agile role, but never say never, because I found myself using this for a team I had to be part of, helping to, get us out of the hole. So you never know. You just never know. All right, writing user stories. Just some general things. I want to talk about this. Product backlog is just typically for all our user stories, which is just a requirement. We have it in backlog, right? Then from that backlog, you can be picking it. You can see all these frames here. The ones in green, tick green, are the ones we want to extract and say, okay, we want to get into this. So you can extract it one by one at that point in time. Grooming exercise, this is very exciting. This is one of the fun part of it. Grooming exercise is just the time we all size a user story. We use something we call Fibonacci series. Again, don't stress this. Or we use t-shirt size. For all of us, we can relate with t-shirt size, small, medium, large. Let me give you a good example. If you tell me, okay, how would you size the effort of painting a room? You might tell me, yeah, if it's painting a room, I'll call it effort is maybe medium. All right. If you're painting a bathroom, how would you size it? Because bathroom has other things, the bathtub, the jacuzzi and everything, we might want to scale it in terms of effort, maybe large, because it might be small in terms of the structure, but it's more complex. You have to go into all the details so that you don't put all the paints on very expensive jacuzzis and all that stuff, right? So there are many factors we use to decide how to actually do what we call sizing. Okay, in writing user story, we use this acronym called INVEST. I'll skip this again. Guys, if you want to find yourself and enjoy, get into that world, you have the document, but I'm not going to go into all the details because I want to focus on the one that we will probably find ourselves doing. And I'll get into it so that we can do a quick exercise on it. I talked about sizing earlier on. Fibonacci, t-shirt sizing, white elephant, time boxing. Now, I'll talk about this a little bit. The factors that affect sizing, example of what I used earlier on painting my restroom versus my room. The restroom might be smaller, yes, but it's complex because of the equipment inside of the restaurant. So 3 things we typically use when we do sizing. We have to think of the risk, the level of effort, and the complexity. Those are the 3 things that comes to my mind to eventually decide how I size a user story. Technically, it means the level of effort, the risk, and complexity is what I'm thinking in my mind. Okay. So all of that. Again, these are just some general things about release backlog, point release. Point release is just saying sometimes if there is a fix that needs to be done and we don't want to wait for the major changes that is typically done, we can request for a point release to just go ahead and, make a fix. Because I'll give an example. If there's a major virus that attacked the whole world and a vendor is releasing patch to fix it, we're not going to wait for our general release time to do that job. We're going to do it immediately because it's an urgent need at that point in time. All right, I'm going to skip this and get to something I wanted to. Definition of ready is just typically saying, what do we consider ready to go? We would have all agreed as a team that this is the criteria to finalize anything we're working on. Definition of done, the same similar concept. What do we consider done? So we would have defined this before the project even kicks off at any point in time. Shoma, thank you for those acronyms. Working agreement, very important because it's always nice to agree on what we think is our guideline to work at any point in time, because this makes our life easy. I do that as a product manager all along that. We work on what's our working agreement and we all stick with it. We write it out in our daily stand-up corner so that everybody knows, okay, this is our working agreement. We are respectful. Everybody's opinion count. Would have written whatever we think is important to us. All right, exercise. One thing I wanted to do, this is the one I want us to do real quick. I want us to do a breakout session. Now, believe it or not, this was one of the tools that helped save a multi-million-dollar project. Every day we implemented twice a day where we do a daily stand-up. 15 minutes, that's all. 15 minutes max. That's it. Most of it are familiar with Agile. That's it. And everybody's straight to the point. I don't have time for BS. We're not talking about our missing dog, our cat, nothing like that. Strictly what was achieved the previous day. What's your goal today? Do you have roadblock? Simple. No other questions. Straight to the point. If you want to get into details and stuff, you can set up additional meeting with the person you want to outside of the group. But as long as we as a team are working, just 15 minutes, what was done, what was done previously, what are you going to do today, and what are the roadblocks? So what I would like us to do, if you don't mind everybody, is if this is straight to the point, give me thumbs up real quick. Let's go. I know it was a quick one, but I want us to just quickly do something real quick as a team, everybody. What I want us to do is we're going to do a quick simulation of daily stand-up. Now, guys, believe it or not, you never know. I know this for a fact. And I don't know who, somebody I was speaking with in our team, and she said to me, hey, Hakim, have you thought about telling her about Agile? And then I said, you know what? For bringing that up, I'm going to make sure I do it sometime before we wrap up the program. But this weekend, I said, you know what? Why not do it this week? Because it's very important. For me, it's a game changer. For real. I'm not kidding you guys. I'm talking of it's delivered a team and a company potentially to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. Yes, this simple thing I'm going to tell you tonight to quickly simulate is a trick and a tool you can use and tell your team if there's crisis that, guys, if you don't mind, I would like to implement some additional. They might have project manager, tell them that's fine. I want to do a quick iteration, Scrum ceremony of daily stand-up twice a day. And what I need is straight to the point. I want to see everybody's task. What are the roadblocks? What are you working today on? Do the same thing by the end of the day. We go through it twice, but you'll be surprised how much people start figuring out roadblocks. For me, the biggest thing is I want to see what are the things holding us so I can be the bulldozer to go figure it out and find out who to help us with it. Okay, so we're going to do a quick breakout section. What I want us to do real quick is put everybody on the spotlight as much as you can. We won't get to everybody. Just say, hey, let's do a quick daily stand-up. Tell me what you're going to do today. And let's simulate the project on, we worked on policies and procedure. Our goal is to build a repository that stores our policies and procedure, right? Which is just like a document management system. So an example would be somebody asks, okay, Akin, what's your, give me your daily stand-up, give me your update. I'll say yesterday, I collected requirements from the business. Today, I'm going to start developing the code to make sure that we have the document management system ready. At the moment, no roadblock. Somebody can also come and say, well, right now, I could not get all the requirements I need, and I need someone to help me to follow up with it. That might be your roadblock. Just simulate something, but the fun of it is I want to just make you talk and put yourself in that scenario, and as much as you can. Let's do it. It should not take more than 5-10 minutes, and just have fun doing it, guys. But believe it or not, it's a big deal. All right, let's go. Let me see if I can quickly do a quick breakout section. All right, let's go. I'll make it 7. Let's go. Just go. Close it up. Close it up. Close it up. All right, welcome back, everybody. All right, listen, guys, I understand exercises like this. It's not, there's no silver bullet. You can't get everything done. You can't get every knowledge you want. The one that is the most important piece, honestly, that I thought you might find yourself in real life situation. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. We are 9 o'clock. Let's 2 minutes, we'll be out of here. So thank you, everybody. A lot of people on this call, some of them I know personally, are solid agile people already. So I'm not worried. And some of this will just be like, a breeze to a lot of you. As a matter of fact, one of our mentees here, she's starting a role as a Scrum Master in a few days or so. But the point I'm making is, guys, ladies, is at least at the minimum, you will remember this day that, you know what, this is just a good experience. This is what an agile setting looks like. And again, it's not JRC class, it's not cyber class, it's applicable to any kind of IT, okay? So tomorrow, if somebody talks about agile, you will remember that, oh, okay, this is what they're talking about. It's a way they do projects to make life easy for themselves, as simple as that. I think somebody's raising their hands. Somebody said I get serious roadblock. All right, we'll take one question and that's it for tonight. Villad's iPhone, you have a question and that's it. Guys, don't overthink this. Again, my goal is just to give you guys a feel of what it's about. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just have I don't know if a clarification on the user story. So you said the user story should be like who you are, what you want, how you want it to work, right? Something like that.
Okay, let's pause if you don't mind. Again, you're not an agile person. So the intent is just to give you a feel. And I've seen user stories in different environments written the way they want. The strategy is this, ladies and gentlemen. Look at previous user story your environment has written and just mirror it. Whatever I gave you is just a generic one as a, I would like to. Make sure you start with that as a dash, I would like to. Then the rest, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So my question.
Yeah, go ahead. What's the question, please?
So my question now would be because we had a user story one time on my job. So the application owner want to upgrade his the version of his application. So he gave the version and how he wanted to behave if they upgrade it. Now, when the developer comes to the meeting, they have to like break that user story to us. So each person has to have his own part. Now, if my part is to download that software, they gave my own part to download the software, stage it on the server, then untie it. Another person is gonna like download all the repository, all the libraries. Is that my own story? If I'm asked on an interview, can I give that as my own user story? Because on this particular project, that was my user story.
Okay, got it, and that's fine. And I will tell you, nobody will ask you GRC to tell them user story. All right, but if it's a agile interview or Scrum Master interview, product owner interview, they might ask you to give a user story. In that your situation, let me tell you what will happen. We have what we call breaking down user story. So even though you have a user story, I can break it down into 4 parts. You can break it down further. So if you size that user story 10, you might eventually break it, 8, you might break it down to 2 or 1. You can break it down into smaller pieces as needed. So I won't worry about that. It's not applicable to us. I'm glad you already have that experience as working in an agile environment. That's all I care really for now. And that's great for you. You have an experience working in an agile environment. That's all you need. And for my other folks, don't sweat it. It's not a big deal. The intent is just, if you hear agile, don't be scared. It's just this concept I told you. That's all. It's a project environment, slightly different. That's it, nothing else. Okay. All right. We are 4 past the hour. Let me see one more thing. As a mother, I would like. Oh, I like that. That's a good user. Sorry, somebody said, I like this. Tolu said, as a mother, I would like my children to be independent. So when I leave planet Earth, I'll be at peace knowing they are good. Oh, I love that actually. I'll copy that. That's a good one. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. That was awesome. Brilliant. Brilliantly said. Godspeed. Best week ever. Do meet with your group, everybody, and get ready for a fun, exciting time. NIST framework. NIST framework will be awesome. Blow your mind. Come prepared. Get your coffee ready. It will be very exciting. We'll talk soon. God bless everybody. Love it. Oh, somebody. Oh, okay. I need to write. You guys are awesome. I'm going to copy all your script. Somebody said as a GRC analyst, I would like to create and implement policy. I love that. Awesome, Awe. You are awesome, brother. I love that. That's a good one too. All right, I'm going to copy that too. I like that. Good night, everybody. Love it. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk soon. Shoma, you're going to be awesome. You will do excellent. Can't wait. Can't wait. Titi, I can see you too. Excellent. Laurencia. Best week ever. Sister Mariamo, Akitayo, Franklin, Adama, Mustahin. Let's see, Michael, Adibola, Dixon. Tolu, you are the MVP. Sister Nene, super sister. Amazing. All right, love you all. We'll talk soon. Take care, everybody.